Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Nan. You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm Nan Arkwright. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist, and my colleague Elizabeth Sauter is here today. Elizabeth is the author of many books, social emotional learning, and orientation. In the background, you can see some of her books that she's written. She's a trainer for zones of regulation. She's a speaker, all kinds of credentials behind your back, and speech and language therapist. Can't remember if I mentioned that. So, anything else you wanted to add to that, Elizabeth?
No, I do wear a lot of hats, but my passion is social emotional learning.
Yeah. So let's jump right in and talk about the Lions book, Lions and Worries and Safety, Oh My, which is just a book about pro-social behaviors. And the book is meant, we talk about cooperation, compassion, and um, communication. And so the elephants are trying to work together to achieve a goal, which is to escape from the lions. And so it's a whole story about that. And in the story, the elephants are trying to answer questions that are pro-social behavior type questions. And in addition, with this book, I've added a educational technology component. So I've gamified all of the ideas. So there's about 10 or 11 examples in the story of pro-social scenarios. And then there's follow-up for each one of those that are meant to be fun for kids. And there's cute little videos that go with them and just fun for kids. And so I've already talked about those in a previous video. So we can just jump right into the free gifts that go along with the books that I've created because I want people to have the opportunity to share these with their children and have activities to reinforce the messages. And in addition, all kinds of resources to support adults who are working with the children too. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And these are some of the activities that I've created to go along with the story. So first of all, super fun kind of activities where kids just copied step by step how to draw the elephants in the story. So you
Fun.
put all the little elephants with their accessories on, and that's fun for kids. And then also a lot of the story is about social good. So these are just some ideas of things that are brought out in the story about how the elephants try to work together. I won't read through all of these, of course, but they're all about encouraging each other and supporting each other and caring for each other. And actually, this reminds me of something that I heard last night. I was listening to a class I'm signed up for with Dr. Dan Siegel, who's written all these amazing books on the brain. And he mentioned this. He said, in a genuine and authentic way, when we make statements in our mind of kindness, care, compassion, we cultivate being inside and in the world. And that's what research and wisdom traditions have known for a long time. So that's kind of what goes along with this story that we're talking about. And then I have made a little game to go along with the story. So if these are feelings that we would like to have when we're trying to connect with other people, we want to feel accepted, we want to feel believed, we want to feel understood. So these are just words that we can share with our children to help them be able to say things like, I feel connected with you when this happens. When you listen to what I'm saying that doesn't feel fair to me, that kind of thing.
Yeah, awesome.
And then these are just pictures. I did go to Africa and
Oh,
I got to see these elephants, which is where the background of this Zoom call comes from. And these are, and we saw amazing lions also. So I just thought it would be fun to share that those are things that I got to see in Africa, and that was the inspiration for the story.
that's
And
great.
then, thank you. And then this is just another little game. So kids can match the scenario in the book with an action that actually happened. So this goes along with it. So where in the story, which one of those pictures matches the idea that respecting every elephant in the herd makes every elephant feel safe. So that's a big theme in the story, is making it for the elephants to feel safe. So they need to be safe from the lions. So they work together because that's their survival. And so it's the same thing for people. We want to set up environments where they feel safe so they can be thriving in that environment, because people are being respectful to them. They're being caring toward them. They're including them. Those are all some of the themes that are in the story. And that's what makes the herd strong and mighty in the story. But it also is what makes us feel connected, strong, and mighty as well when we're in a group. And then, as I mentioned, compassion, cooperation, and communication are some of the key things that are important. And what I did was I wrote down some of the things that define compassion and where in the story these elements can be found. So compassion means showing empathy. And then in the story, there's one of the scenarios where this is shown. So it's not just talking about it, but it's using the book to help learn about it. So, Elizabeth, with all your work, this compassion element and the cooperation and the, like this one, cooperation means working as a team. It means sharing responsibilities. A long list there of other things, again, specific examples in the story that go along with that. So it can be really relatable to kids. And the
Yeah.
last one here about communication, um, considering others' feelings and responding thoughtfully and using words that uplift and support, all those things that pro-social behaviors that help make the elephants herd strong and mighty, but make us strong and mighty herd too, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. So what is your experience with this? I know you are, I mean, you're an expert in all of this.
Yeah. Well, I think that first of all, I think it's amazing what you've done here for having it's almost like a little mini curriculum in a fun children's quick storybook that is just so helpful for adult facilitators because, we know how important this is in terms of the foundation of having solid, the feeling of belonging and a felt sense of safety and being able to be part of a group and in the classroom or at home or in the community. And so having something that adults can just pick up and be able to, in a fun, playful way, talk to kids about and read to them is just, I mean, that's like well-being for the adults to just have things accessible like this. And then also too, what we've found is that oftentimes when we are in therapy sessions or educational settings where we are asking kids specifically about their own emotions and specific situations that they're part of, maybe it's a traumatic situation or maybe it's not, it's harder for them to access their words and feelings and experiences because it's so personal and it's so overwhelming. But when you can use characters and literature and hypothetical situations, it can really get the conversation going in a way that can build on what they already might know from their own experiences, but into something that's not actual reality. And then they can build those pathways of things that they're learning from other experiences to take into real life situations. So I think that the work that you're doing is great. I think that, talking about communication and what that looks like is critical. If we can't express our feelings and our emotions and receive that from other people, then we're just solo, which is not social. And then talking about cooperation and what was the other one?
Passion, communication.
Compassion is just thinking about others and also our self-compassion
Yeah.
is so important for building social emotional learning.
Oh, thank you for sharing all that, Elizabeth. That's so great. Yeah, exactly. You said it so well, and I appreciate that. So to try to reinforce more everything that you just said, Elizabeth, I have for each of the little chapters, because it is an early chapter reading book, I have I have the page from the story, and then it's just an opportunity for kids to color and for adults who are working with them side by side, which I know you've done also with your journals, Elizabeth, the value
Mhm.
of working side by side with something and how opening up to doing having a conversation about important things, social, emotional, all of that
Yeah,
that's in your journals that you've written. And so each one of these is just reminding the child and the adult reading the story with them, oh, we make games fun for everyone, that inclusive message. And so through the book, through these little activities, through the gamifying of all of this, I'm trying to instill in children all of this pro-social, positive, well-being kinds of things.
that's
And so
awesome. And I think that, like I said before, sometimes kids are not quite ready to open up, but, just even being like, I love that you have all these activities to do side by side, because just sharing space and being that showing up as a co-regulator in a fun way to start with is the way to then let them know that they can feel safe with you when they are struggling in a challenging situation.
great. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, Elizabeth. Thank you for that. And then so there's one for all of the chapters in the book. And then this one is one that a child can fill out themselves, modeling though what all the different characters in the story are are writing in their character a little bit about themselves. So I just went through all the little elephants in the story and just made up information about them just to try to make it relevant to kids. Like, oh, I'm 9 and oh, she likes to eat plants. Well, okay, I eat lettuce, maybe. I relate to
Mhm.
that. She likes to lift heavy things with her trunk. Well, I do heavy work in gymnastics. And she once tried to protect another animal from danger. Well, one time I helped my friend, and Zuwina also stops when asked. And that's hard for her. And oh, that's hard for me too. So I try to create characters that kids could relate to so they can think, oh, I'm like these characters in the book, because it's a little bit about what you just said, Elizabeth. If we can connect with the characters in the book, we can begin to think, I could do that too.
Yes.
And so that's what I did something for all of the characters in the book here. And that's all the little activities that I created. And so I will stop sharing the screen now. And did you have any final thoughts about this? I'm encouraging people who are watching this to also go back and watch the video I did on my own, just highlighting the messages in the story and sharing a little bit about the uh, educational technology piece that I added to that. And but I love that you're here today to share all of your knowledge. Do you have anything that you'd like to close with?
I think that it's just, again, a really wonderful, sweet resource. You can take from real life experiences, from your travels, and from, thinking about how animals interact and following a child's interests. Um, and building on their strengths is just so important for thinking about boosting their social emotional learning and confidence and resilience all around. And we know that this is the precursor for being able to be accessible in academics and life skills in terms of being successful, independent, ongoing, successfully in the world is social emotional well-being. And so I just commend you for being so diligent in creating these really adorable stories that can then reinforce the teachings of social emotional learning, which in my biased opinion is first and foremost the most important things that we can support and teach. It is a developmental skill. And so we want to meet our children and learners where they're at in terms of, they could be chronologically at age 10 or 12 or 16, but their, social emotional learning development is more like 10, 12, 5, whatever. And so we want to meet them where they're at. And that's where these storybooks can come into play.
Yes, I agree. You know, when I first became an occupational therapist 28 years ago, that was one of the first things I learned. That's what matters for
Yeah.
for families. They want their children to have these skills.
Yes.
Not easy to teach. So that's why, as you said, books can make it more fun and more
Exactly.
relatable and something that parents and teachers and therapists can use with children to try to help develop those skills.
Yeah, and we're always looking for new ones because, you might have read one book, but that's only one book, and then you maybe their child didn't gravitate towards it. So here's another option for you. And I know all the other ones that you've done too are very different with your Mission Impossible and all our Mission
Control.
Control, yes. And just, this is very different with the amazing characters of animals, which a lot of children gravitate towards. So thanks for making a variety of options for us educators to use with our learners.
Yeah, it's fun to think of the animals because the elephants have all of these. I don't know if they have all these character traits, but they have so many social traits that we're talking about. So I
Yeah.
think that they were a good model for this story. Um, so Elizabeth, do you want to share how people can get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your fabulous work? You've praised
Oh,
me.
thanks.
Yours is amazing. Your books are so helpful for people. I refer my families that I work with to check out your social emotional books all the
Thank
time.
you. Yes, Make Social Emotional Learning Stick is my activity book for parents to sprinkle in social emotional learning to activities you're already doing with your kids at home. And then I have a coloring book and a journal activities for them to do, and then some children's books as well. So the best place to find everything is the hub is elizabethsauter.com. I do a lot on social media as well, but finding me on my website, then you can just branch out from there.
That sounds great. Great. That's very helpful. Easy to find. So,
Yes.
okay. Thank you again so much for being here to meet with me today, Elizabeth.
You're welcome, Nan.